What's up, guys? My name's Chris, and I'm bad at everything. Welcome back to the channel. Today, I'm inviting you all to join me on my time machine as we take a trip through the golden era of Formula One, when speed was the main focus and safety came more as a suggestion. We're going to be looking at the cars built in the 60s, then the 70s, and finally finishing with the brutal 1200 horsepower turbo monsters in the 80s. And we're going to be looking at one company in particular, and that's the manifest of Colin Chapman in Lotus. Lots of trouble, usually serious. However, in Formula One, they are absolute icons. And we're going to be looking at 4 cars in particular, and those are these ones. And of course, we are back in Assetto Corsa, and these are the 4 cars that we have available to us. Starting off in the early 60s, we have the Lotus Type 25. Then, moving on to the mid to late 60s, the Type 49. Then, the early 70s, the 72D. And finally, finishing in the mid 80s with the 98 Turbo Monster. Absolute menace. And of course, there's only one place in hell, wink, where we can test these cars, in which all of these, except for the 98T, actually raced at. And that is the Nürburgring Nordschleife. Almost 21 kilometers of pure hell, through the forest, undulating through heights and passes, fast corners, slow corners, the carousel. Nothing else can really test these cars as well as this track can. And nothing else comes nearly as close to soiling my underwear in the process. But in any case, without further ado, I'm going to see you guys on the grid, starting with the 25. And welcome to the green hell, guys, in the Lotus 25. Let's have a quick listen to the engine. With our V8 only putting about 195 horsepower. And we're going to take it for a lap. So let's take you guys for a lap around the green hell. As we're already spinning the rear tires. Of course, the first thing we notice are the super narrow tires. Nothing compared to modern rubber, both in terms of size and rubber compound. As we now prepare the final corner for the start-finish straight, if you could call it that. And now first time into turn 1, braking nice and early. Of course, very little or basically no downforce in this car. And also only 195 horsepower. But of course, when the whole car only weighs 450 kilograms, that's a lot of power for not a lot of weight. And yeah, I think you don't want to bend this car into the wall, because after the thin aluminum sheets break or bend, next up it's the driver itself. And of course, Jim Clark being the driver of this car for the 62 and 63 season. As we go wide again, but managing to save it. And of course, this car was hugely successful in Formula One when it came out, being one of the first cars to feature this monocoque chassis top that was built around the driver as we nearly take off at Flugplatz, managing to catch it and carry the speed and momentum. All about carrying momentum in this car with the relatively low power and no downforce. It's all about slowing the car down sufficiently for the corners, carrying as much speed as you can, keeping that minimum corner speed up. As you know, come into Schwedenkreuz, braking nice and early, carrying the speed and nicely catching it, and now again braking early, locking the wheels. Of course, no ABS or any type of electronic assistance as we dip 2 wheels into the gravel. Probably cost us a second there, but we managed to keep going. So now go down the hill, going through the gears. Very unstable, this car. And of course, I also don't have a shifter or a clutch, so taking full advantage of the in-game assists of Assetto Corsa as we again lock the front wheels and run onto the grass, but again, just barely managing to hang on. Gonna keep going for now. And yeah, as I was saying, Jim Clark winning 7 out of 10 races in that year, taking the Drivers' and Constructors' Championship. As we now again need to get it slowed down nicely for the super fast left-hander. Easy to run it out as we do here, but oh, just barely holding on. Getting it slowed down. setup might feel quite understeery, or it is just indeed the cold tires as we now keep it on the inside and prepare. Miss, hit, miss, keeping it in third gear, getting it hooked in, and now carrying the speed on exit as we head to the slowest part of the circuit. Important not to lock the front wheels here. I've binned it into the wall here before as well, but we managed to get it slowed down into first gear. Now preparing the exit, short shifting into second, and letting it run out again. Now braking nice and early. I really don't like this corner. It's, oh, we caught it. Yeah, it's basically almost a 90-degree corner, and it feels more open than it actually is, so you do need to slow the car down more than what you think. As we now come to these next long, straight, or not straight, but fast sections. Oh, I think we broke too late. Oh, and we spin it, and the lap time is deleted. Anyway, we're gonna keep going for now. Revving it out to the max. 10.5 thousand RPM available in this engine. Oh, and again running it onto the grass. Can we manage to hang on? No, we cannot. Oh, we can actually. I fully thought we were going to spin there. And now preparing mood quiver. When are we going to brake? Say about here. I think you have to drive these cars basically sideways to be fast. And here just a lift off again, running onto the grass, but I think we're fine. And again now slowing it down to first gear, pointing. Ooh, and now oversteer on exit, but that was decent. And now preparing the carousel. I think we can take the inside line. Just need to get it slowed down into first gear, keep it in. And that's nicely done as we almost run wide again. And now second gear on the exit. Now the final sector of this track, well, if you break it down into thirds basically. Maybe should have shifted down there, but it's fine. Can shorten the braking zones a little bit here as we're going up the hill. And now again, switching to go downhill, which is going to help us on acceleration. And I'm always sideways in every corner. Yeah, sometimes having to go deceptively slow, because the tires just can't handle the grip as we again go onto the grass here. And I just can't imagine how Formula 1 drivers at the time did lap after lap driving around the circuit in these cars for hours. Now on the gas again. Now braking nice and early for this corner here. Turning in, managing to hit the apex, nice. And now on the gas again. Curbs, unsettling the cars here, now keeping it tied to the inside. Keep it on, don't get off the curbs, and now braking nice and early, avoiding to lift off. All right. Now, last couple of corners for the big straight. Getting the tires hooked nicely into the grooves here. And again, braking nice and early. Ooh, still managing to run wide. And now the second carousel. Getting it hooked early nicely. It's only getting slightly bogged down, but felt okay. And now final corner before the straight. keeping it in third gear, running it wide, waiting with the turn in, and now making sure not to carry too much speed and preparing the exit nicely there. And let me just shut up for a minute and see what kind of top speed we get and let you listen to the engine. So about 240, I think, on the downhill. Now we're going to hit 250 potentially. Now really need to focus as we go under the Bilstein Bridge to not win it in the last couple of corners here. Yeah, almost 250, still keeping it pinned. Now braking, keeping it to the left, and now fourth and third, and one more time down to second. Nicely getting it slowed down, going just a tiny bit deep. And here, feeling the lack of power, down to first. And that's one lap of the green hell. Whew. That is a workout and a half. Of course, with these skinny tires, you're always fighting on exit. But yeah, not the best lap, but also not the worst. Let's upgrade to the next car. And welcome back to the grid, guys, in the Lotus 49, now arriving in the year 1976. And just listen to that engine. Let's get started here with our flying lap. Oh my god, and it's such a significant difference already, as you can hear and see. So first thing is the tires. I mean, you can see the tires are more than basically tripled in size. So now start our flying lap, getting it slowed down nicely. Still have to make sure to not block the wheels. No ABS, no electronics of any kind in this car, in this era. Getting it slowed down nicely here. And just having to focus on keeping it on track for now. But yeah, other significant upgrades compared to the predecessor is the engine, of course. Increasing the displacement from 1.5 liters to 3 liters, still a V8, now built by Cosworth. And I mean, the sound is just incredible. Not revving as high to, what, 11,000 RPM. This is was more restricted to, oh my god, having to focus on the Flugplatz. This was only capable of going to 9,000 RPM with basically double the displacement, so it's still incredibly impressive. And also upping the power from, as you now focus on Schwebkreuz, working nice and early, carrying the speed. Wow, everything just passes you by so quickly. Oh my god. But doubling the power from 195 horsepower to over 400 in this car. And so obviously the added tires and also some small wings, first introduction of some aerodynamic components starting to appear. So now we're gonna slow down slightly, missing the apex, but managing to keep it nice and clean for now. And now, oh, as I say that, we actually spin! And we invalidate our lap, but we're just gonna pretend like this is a race and we gotta keep going. No damage, luckily. And yeah, as I say that I'm able to catch the car, it just bites you when you least expect it on the power or on the brakes. And again, the way to drive these cars fast is to essentially slide them across 4 wheels to get them nice and turned. Managed to get the front hook now, and on the gas again. Oh, struggling with oversteer. Can we get it hooked here? As you now prepare, miss, hit almost, and miss again. And now coming again into the slowest section of the track. Coming with such overspeed, I am unable to slow it down, just about. Of course, the curbs immediately upset the car as you hit them, so really got to be careful here. as we lock the rear tires again. So easy to do in this car. And obviously I'm also here not having to manually shift or heel and toe because, you know, I'm on a modern direct drive wheel and I don't have a shifter and a clutch installed. Just gonna focus now. Oh, okay, nice. Prepare the exit now from the quote-unquote straight. But of course, the real drivers here, Jim Clark and Graham Hill, they've had to manually shift, so driving through these corners without power steering one-handedly while I struggle to keep it on this track. Oh my god. And then on the downshifts, of course, having to heel and toe to avoid spinning the back tires. Keeping it in 4 through here, off the gas again as we approach Mutkurve. How mutig can we be? This is an absolute workout to drive. Well, the car just doesn't want to go straight. As we now arrive to the entry of the carousel section. A bit too early on the gas, but managing to catch the exit now. As we approach the carousel now, gonna try to keep it on the inside, just brake nice and early, and managing to be here. Careful not to spin it on exit as we now again come into the fast flowing sector that, of course, you know, you practice least as I completely pin it. Oh, but managing to keep going, not losing too much speed, I think. Wow, that was scary. And of course, again, basically zero crash structure. One thing that is new with this car is that the engine, instead of just being bolted to the chassis, oh my god, please focus on the track, Christian, as we 360 now. Whew, and losing lots and lots of time again. But yeah, instead of just bolting the engine to the chassis, for the first time the engine was mounted directly as a stressed member to the chassis, so it carries the dynamics of the car and the suspension. Therefore it had to be built more robustly, but also able to increase the stiffness of the car and reduce weight in the process. So essentially huge innovation for future Formula One. Oh, so difficult having to talk and drive at the same time. So apologies if the laps are not coming in as cleanly as you would maybe expect. But yeah, it's such a handful. Let's try to brake early and not lift off here. Oh, as we actually do come slightly off the ground, I think. So scary. Oh my god. My arms are starting to get tired. As we now go through this super fast right, left, left section. I think I was overslowing there a bit. Could have chosen a better line. Now again, braking nice and early. Then pulling it to the inside and braking down to second gear. As we now approach the second carousel. The kleine carousel. Down to first. Getting it hooked on the curb. Not super fast, but missed keeping it stable. And now let's going a bit deep here, managing to just avoid the grass and now turning in. Whew, thankfully managing to slow it down. And now, let's see. Let me shut up for a second and see what speed we can reach. Absolute roaring V8. It's just insane, absolutely insane. As we, 300 kilometers an hour basically. Let's surpass that one going down the hill again, out under the Bilstein Bridge now. And let's just focus on bringing the lap home cleanly. Still full throttle. Now off the gas. Oh my god. Oh my god. I would be lying if I said that was completely under control. And that's one lap. Oh, I didn't see the time as we crossed the finish line. Of course, the game doesn't validate the lap time, but we'll have a look later at the recording what lap time we actually managed to do. But oh my god, that section, those final corners, nearly binned it completely. But yeah, so let's upgrade to the next era. Welcome back, guys, and just look at it. The Lotus 72D from the 71 season actually raced, at least derivations of it, for 6 consecutive seasons. That's how advanced the cockpit was. Now featuring proper downforce, proper wings, still no electronic assists, more slick tires. You can see no more grooves within the tires, and also some more upgraded suspension. So reduced unsprung load, and also keeping the same Ford Cosworth 3-liter V8, but upgrading the power now to 450 odd brake horsepower. So let's see how we do, as we kind of butcher the launch. But yeah, you can immediately tell the car is much more on the nose, much more eager to get going, and of course you can carry much more speed through the corners. It's still losing it on the exit. Oh my god. Still going sideways. Of course, these slow speed corners don't really help in terms of aerodynamics. But corners like this, I mean... Okay, these, don't look at that. I thought we could take more speed. Still, quite, let's say, ancient downforce technology compared to what we have today. I mean, I guess you could say that for the whole car, also in terms of suspension, electronics that don't exist, as we again lose it on the exit. Oh my god. Yeah, and the difficulty in driving starts to increase. Let's start over. All right, let's try this again. Doesn't really want to get up and launch. I guess since I don't have a manual clutch, I can't really manipulate the start that much, so losing there, but good thing it's a flying lap and not a standing start or a race. Oh my god, could you imagine? Now this is the last of Lotus's cars that actually raced around the Nordschleife, as following Niki Lauda's horrific accident in one of these seasons. Then led to the ban of the track, and the race was moved to Hockenheim. Now just focusing on getting it right. Also have to be mindful of not downshifting too early, otherwise the rear will lock as it did just now. And yeah, in terms of other upgrades, I mean, the engine is basically the same, but of course each part refined and slightly improved. Also much bigger fuel tank, because these cars obviously burn through a lot more, and also had, with the added speed, longer races, or more laps, let's say. Now carry the speed in 4th gear, already at 250 kph. Oh my god, are we gonna reach 280 here before Schmidt-Kreuz? We do. Now here, of course, we can take much more speed, much more planted the car at higher speed, and managing to get it slowed down nicely as well. But yeah, of course, these high-speed downforce cars are much more reactive and sensitive to curbs and undulations of the track, so really need to be careful there. As we again manage to get it slowed down. Nice. Again, go onto the curb, which is not fast. And you're carrying the speed. Oh, going a bit too wide. Going onto the grass, but managing somehow to hold on. So let's keep going, even if Assetto Corsa invalidates the lap, I don't really care. And of course, one more thing to definitely talk about is the driver who actually drove this car, which was Emerson Fittipaldi, who then turned out to become the youngest ever Formula One world champion at the time, as we turn miss, hit, miss into miss, miss, miss. Yeah, at only, I think, 25 years of age in this car, he managed to secure the world championship. Of course, that record would later on be broken by several other drivers. Oh my god, as we now spin it. Oh god, yeah, and that was just clumsy, huh? Let's start over. We're gonna pick up from here. Okay, as we now are on a much cleaner lap, let's see if we can finally nail this next 2 sections. As we nearly lose it again. Nice, okay. Managing to survive that section finally. I would be lying if I said that that was the next attempt. I pinned it into the wall 3 or 4 more times, maybe? And it's just because those exit curbs, you really have to stay off them. So this car is incredibly sensitive to those. Sometimes, you know, on entry when you're hitting the curb, because you're slowing down, oh god, and you have the front tires loaded, you kind of survive. But yeah, on exit, just that little bump on the end completely turns you around. As we now prepare motorkurve, we're gonna keep it in 4th. Gonna try to keep it in 4th. And that was, ooh, very squirrely at the end. As you go sideways, oh my god, okay. And now slowing it down nice and early, down to 1st gear. And you never really have any time to relax in these cars. Again, I don't know how the drivers drove these cars for hours. I certainly could not do that. I do not have the cojones. Or the cardio, I guess. Then again, they did smoke a lot. Not sure what their endurance levels were like. Oh my god. But yeah, their cojones were definitely larger. Oh la la. Okay, now going up the hill. And see, that's exactly what I mean! You know, we were quite stable, but then just losing it on the curb. But whatever, we're gonna keep going. I've already spent so much time trying to do this. This is the best I can do. For now, at least. And this isn't even the hardest car to drive yet. Wow. Oh my god. Okay. As we go wide again onto the gravel. Lifting off there again, needing to go off the throttle. Oh la la. So squirmy everywhere we go. So again, put it onto the grass. Now this is where we should make up lots of time in these fast corners. Nice. A little bit deep, but we take it. Oh, and that's also what I meant with shifting down too soon. The rear end just completely locked, but we're able to catch it somehow. So avoiding this bump on the inside. Now turn again, front settle, so full throttle, and now let's see what we can do on the final straight. Whew. So when comparing to the other cars I've driven before, I guess it would depend on the track, which I would prefer. But yeah, I think the 25 is just skittish wherever you are. But the 46 is much nicer to drive with the fat tires. And then this one is even faster and more planted. Except at the Nordschleife, like if you had a track that was super smooth, like I don't know, Barcelona or something, then, and you don't have super aggressive curbs, I would prefer potentially this, as we now need to focus on the last couple of corners. Just about managing to slow it down. And that completes one very scrappy lap of the Nordschleife. Oh my god. And I can't even tell you what it's going to be like with the next car that we're driving. That will just be insane. I don't know if I'm gonna make a lap. But we're definitely gonna try, so I'll see you on the grid. Guys, I don't know how we're going to do this. This thing is just insane. I mean, look at it. Like, what even is that? We've got huge tires, slick tires. We've got an engine that's producing 1,200 brake horsepower with 2 turbos running more than 5.5 bars in qualifying trim, which is of course what we're going to be driving. Absolute madness. We've decreased the weight using carbon Kevlar composite, so both increasing rigidity and adding lightness, about 540 kilograms in this car. And I don't even know how you can get 1,200 horsepower from a 1.5 liter Renault engine. So we've halved the displacement of the engine once again, and yet we've tripled the power somehow. Anyway, let's give it a try. Oh my god, I'm already regretting this. I'll tell you what, guys. I think we should do a live stream where we take all of these cars again and we actually try to complete the laps around the Nordschleife, because every single lap so far has been invalidated, and you can already see what is going to happen a lot in this car. So obviously in race trim they didn't run the full 1,200 brake horsepower because the engines would just explode after a few laps. But they did still run 800-900, so 60% turbo. And yeah, this car thankfully didn't drive on the Nordschleife. Not sure how that would have happened. Again, tragic accident of oh my god, Niki Lauda preventing that. So at least, you know, the standards of Formula 1 in terms of safety did increase. And you can already see how much we're struggling. Again, ultra low to the ground, ultra sensitive the suspension is to the curb, so really having to stay off of those. But oh my god, in terms of downforce, we have a lot. Even more sophistication going on. And I mean, this car was not as successful in terms of winning championships, but it did definitely get a few race wins. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh, nearly taking off at the Flugplatz. Just managed to hold on. Only 6 gears, so the gearing is quite low for the amount of turbo boost we have on. But honestly, I think it's still more than enough. It's going to win us lots of time in the short acceleration zones, and then we might just suffer a tiny bit on the final straight. And yeah, I mean, obviously this car is best known for being driven by Ayrton Senna, getting 2 race victories in the end, and a couple of pole positions. And at least what I'm feeling is that the brakes are quite competent, so obviously with the added downforce, able to push it even harder. But the scariest thing is just every single exit, because you have this insane turbo lag, and then out of nowhere, you get the full 1,200 horsepower. And that is just insane. Redlining it almost after every straight section. Again, almost fully on the gas, and now we get the boost. Really having to be careful, so. Oh my gosh. But yeah, such a significant step up. Oh my god. And also, I think a good choice for these cars to be outlawed in the end. Getting rid of these insane turbos. fourth gear. Oh, just about barely should have maybe taken third. As again, we are in top gear, nearly 300 kilometers an hour through the corner. And going sideways on the straight, having to really focus on keeping it on track. And maybe perhaps I should have gone back to the gearing and increased it after having increased turbo to 100%. Comes on 60% as default, so let's take 5/5 gear here as we completely massacre the curbs. Somehow we're still alive. So we can go full throttle here and now braking nice and late. Nice, getting a turn. Short shifting into third. Oh, when we go off track and we invalidate the lap. Oh, I thought we might bring one lap home cleanly maybe, but alas, it's not meant to be. But yeah, I mean, hope that you guys join me for that live stream or check out the video after once I've made it, because that's really something I would like to, accomplish. I think I would be quite proud of myself. Getting each car cleanly through a lap of the Nordschleife and getting a representative time. Oh my god, the sound of the blow-off from the turbos is just magic to my ears. It's gonna describe it a little bit more erotically than that, but you guys know what I'm talking about. Again, on the curb, having to lose lots of time. I mean, in one sense, this car is, of course, lots more difficult to drive because of, oh my god, because of just the violent nature. You're being thrown from left to right. You feel every single undulation in the track, and as soon as you hit a curb, it's over. But at least through the high-speed stuff, like here, I can just plant my foot, and the downforce carries me through. So, I mean, that also over time, of course, is more exhausting for the body. I mean, in real life, with G-forces, not in cozy little simulator. But, oh my god, as we bin it in the very end. And again. Super solid, Christian. There we go. But yeah, at least you can kind of hold on to it through some of the high-speed stuff. Okay, you know what, guys? Since I completely butchered the lap in the end, unfortunately, and we actually did a good job, and we're now losing significant amount of time through the gearing, we're gonna go back into the pits, and we're gonna give this a real try. We're gonna have a quick look at the setup. So, obviously no traction control or ABS, but we've increased the turbo to 100% as before. And in terms of the drivetrain, yes, here we can increase this. Let's see. I think that's the fun. Let's keep it in the middle, 3.44, whatever that means. And let's give this another go. So now, having increased the gearing ratio just a little bit, might help us on exit of some corners as well. And will definitely help us on the straights to get even more straight line speed. Not sure how comfortable I feel with that as we begin the lap. Still having to short shift throughout every single gear, so already in 5th gear there. So much power available, but all in one aggressive, violent blow. So in terms of drivability, it's horrendous. But in terms of raw aggression and power, it gets a 10 out of 10. Oh my god, just insane. Lifting off, Big shift down, and again full throttle, letting the downforce carry me on. I can just hear the turbo whistling as we now reach 300 kilometers an hour. Oh my god, I wasn't looking at the road. Somehow we saved it. 310. Shifting down once. Again, still a manual gearbox, no flappy pedals. Of course, I am cheating that with my flappy pedals, so one advantage I have. I think it was Detroit in which race Ayrton Senna won, and also the Spanish Grand Prix. Don't quote me on that though. Ooh, ooh. Somehow saving it. Oh my god. Oh my god, having completely go off throttle because I jumped the curb like an amateur. Oh, just trying my best. Oh my god, oh la la. And the double downshift there into third, keeping it clean up until then. Nice. Let's get it hooked here. And missing the first, now hitting the apex. That was very good. Now braking early enough to catch this slowest left-hander. Also nicely done. Whew. So far doing a good job in the lap, I think. Of course, usually when I say that is when things start to go wrong. My god. Just cannot go full throttle anywhere on exit. Oh my god, it's so fast. It's ridiculous. And then on exit we lose so much time because the turbo is just not there. Oh my god, okay, again 290 through the corners, 310 through the corners, so 307. Now up to 314, 15, up to mood curve. We're gonna shift down once here. Just want to bring the lap home. Okay, nice. And now back up to 280. Shortly off the throttle as we get violently jerked around. And getting it slowed down in preparation for the carousel now, as I'm also starting to lose my voice. Nice, okay, getting it slowed down and riding the bumps all right, I guess. And now super laggy again on the turbo, and then it kicks in. Now let's see what we can do here up the hill. Slight downshift into fourth and again into third, keeping it off the curb. Lisa. Short shifting up to third again, over the crest and on the brakes. Now running it in third through the section, keeping it close here, maybe riding the curb. Just about managing to get through there. Now keeping it tight for this downhill section. Please don't accelerate over the crest. Easy way to lose it as well. Again, nicely keeping it in there and slowing it down for this off-camber downhill corners. We nearly spin on the curb. Just about managing to hold on, and again the turbo kicking in. In some sense, you're kind of driving this car on autopilot because your brain is already having to calculate where you're going to be in 200 meters. So, kind of need to put the current corner on autopilot and focus on where you're going to place it. As something is crawling in my neck. Nicely there. Oh my god. Okay. Now let's not lose it now as we did in the lap before. Kind of unbelievable that we made it this far without any major incident. Now just carefully accelerating. Can't believe we did the same thing again. We did the exact same freaking thing again. Now dirty tires, of course. And now exiting the final, almost final corner. in 5th gear, up to 6, 310. Let's see what we can speed we can reach. 320, 324. Now we go up the hill, 325. I guess we're gonna stagnate here. Yeah, losing a little bit of speed. Oh my god, what a workout. Going under the Bilstein Bridge once again for the final time, and now preparing the last 2 corners. Oh my god, as the wheel is trying to shake me off. Taking it nice and easy through this last section. And that's 1 lap. What is it? A 6-minute 20 roughly. And spinning it over the line. Wow. Phew. I'm not trying that again. I'm sorry, guys. I do apologize for the spin and my driving. That is too much. I know it's a skill issue. I promise you guys, let's do this on stream again. And we're gonna try as hard as we can to get a clean lap for each of these cars. Wow. Wow, guys, after all that, I am incredibly hot and starting to sweat from the inside out, really building some internal heat. But I've had a look at all the lap times, and here are the final results on screen now. The Lotus 25 did it in an 8-minute 52, roughly. Of course, lots of mistakes, so that lap time can be improved by several seconds, I am sure. But just to show you what of an increased step it was over just a short span from 62 until 67, I believe, the Lotus 49 improves the lap time up to 7-minute 34.6 roughly. But more than 1 minute and 18 seconds of an improvement over that short span, just by increasing engine displacement, having a tweak at the chassis, increasing power, and of course, much, much bigger wheels makes the biggest difference of them all. Then into the early 70s, not so big of an improvement, actually. I mean, not so big, relatively speaking, but the Lotus 72D did it in 7 minutes 19. So improved by about 15 seconds, lap over lap, which is a significant improvement, don't get me wrong. But considering that we had that much more downforce, even wider and non-groove tires, is less than what I actually would have expected. And what completely blows that out of the park, less than 10 years later, we get the 98T, which improves the lap time by an insane 1 minute down to a 6-minute 19. And that is with the spin. So who knows what the ultimate lap time of these cars actually is, but it just goes to show that 1200 horsepower compared to 440 with even more aggressive tires, better refined downforce, better suspension is just such an insane improvement. Yeah, and I would be curious to see what modern F1 cars or even, early 2000s, 90s, 210s F1 cars would do around this track. So that's definitely something we're going to be having a look at in future videos. And I thank you guys so much for watching this one. As mentioned, I'm definitely going to prepare a stream where we're going to try and set an accurate lap time for each of these cars. So that is to come. And I hope I see you guys over there. And for now, thank you so much for watching. Please feel free to help the channel grow to 100 subs. And I'll see you in the next one. As always, I'm Chris, and I'm bad at everything, as you can see. But I try. And I feel like I'm getting better, slowly, with your support. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Da musst du aber auch liken und subscriben und kommentieren und hier, ne?